All right, today we're checking out the Segway Xyber electric bike. We got Sully in the shed. So yeah, this is the Segway Xyber. Very excited for this delivery. We saw all the videos from CES where Segway launched all the new products on the showroom floor. And the Xyber was the bike that really stood out to us. It's marketed as an electric bike, but obviously there's a lot of kind of moto-inspired elements to it. One thing to note that this was delivered on a FedEx freight truck. It's extremely heavy, and even with me and Sully bringing it into the shed, it took a lot of effort. Anyway, there's a detailed video on the website to assemble this thing. We won't get into all the details.
One debt to society later.
Okay, we finally unboxed the Segway Xyber, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of assembly required. Everything is pretty much on the bike. Mainly just the handlebars and probably some other small pieces of hardware.
Yep, hardware and pedals it looks like, and then plug in the battery and charge it up. Yeah, out of the box it looks cool. It's pretty sleek.
This thing will definitely get some attention.
Definitely a head turner.
There's a couple other pieces over here. Side fenders. Just like a cosmetic thing. I think these are optional, but I think they look good on the bike based on what I saw in the pictures. And then this box pretty much has everything that you need for the bike.
Thank you.
User manual.
So this is going to be for the headset. Toolkit, pedals, keys, lots of keys.
Don't lose these.
Lose them. Okay, got it. Lose them. Got it. Reflectors.
Optional. We usually don't put them on.
And I'm most excited to pop this bad boy out. I'll be honest here. I'm curious what the charger looks like. Yeah, definitely a big charger. Was it 10 amp? Yeah, 10 amp. That's pretty good for a 48 volt battery. That'll probably charge it up very quickly.
10 amp, 54.2 volts.
And a pretty serious connector.
This is unlike anything that's available on the market, to be honest. It's a very, very interesting choice that Segway made. Anyway, let's start assembling this and get this thing all together. All right, here we go. We got the Segway Xyber unboxed, assembled, and I'd like to think it was pretty easy.
Simple, yeah, no hiccups. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward, no issues.
It looks like a motorcycle, even though it's a bike. That's kind of what makes it intriguing. It has a very futuristic look to it.
It's the bicycle of the future.
It's the bicycle of the future. Yeah, I mean, it's we're still trying to figure out what category this actually belongs in, but it is really interesting, and I can't wait to try it out. So let's talk about these tires. These are 20 by 5 inch. What kind of brand? I guess it's a Segway brand.
Yeah, I noticed as soon as we pulled it out the box that the tires were beefier than normal. And then also to note with the tread, there's a lot more of it.
The actual tire size is 120, 80, 16. I guess this is a moto style size. We also have the integrated front fender over here. This reminds me of the Ego mini bike. Has kind of a similar big flat front fender, and you kind of want it to be this wide so you don't get anything splashed up onto you. And just aesthetically, it really matches the bike. You have the black and it kind of goes into the silver over here. And it does have a 220 millimeter rotor, and we have these hydraulic disc brakes, which are 4-piston.
So they're kind of like a hybrid brake, is what I like to call them, because they use a dot master, but they're still running a similar style brake to a mountain bike. But I do believe that the pads are a bit thicker on this style than they are on the mountain bikes. So it's kind of like an in-between. It's not a full moto brake setup, but it's kind of a hybrid. So they feel pretty firm off rip. I mean, honestly, I don't think there's gonna be any issues with these brakes unless they just don't bite.
Here's an integrated headlight. It should have a high and low beam right there. Very cool. And then you have this Segway X, I guess, right there in the center. So we got the kind of riser handlebars, very typical for the bike like this, which is kind of like a fixed seat height, moped style. Rubber grip here, it's fine, nothing special. The levers for the brakes seem very big. So they have these mounts if you want to add your mirrors.
Yeah, so there's the bell, and then there's the actual horn here. Careful, it's loud.
I mean, I think if you're riding through, let's say, a bike trail or
right,
the bike tunnels, you kind of want to use the bell. And maybe if you're riding on the streets, use the horn. And then we have this dial over here, which controls the
assist level. Yeah, it's like a more tactile mouse wheel. There's like a very tactile feel behind it. When the kickstand is down, the bike will always be in park. And if you try to give it throttle, it yells at you and tells you no.
So far, this is a very intelligent bike.
Yeah, it's very technological. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on here. This is like its own computer almost.
And we're literally just like kind of learning as we're messing with it. So this, I believe, is a walking mode if you hold it down. Yep. And then you just tap it to exit. And then this is how you adjust your, I think it's supposed to adjust your level that you're in, but I don't think, here, put the kickstand up real quick. It doesn't work until you put the kickstand up. And then once you put the kickstand up, you can go between all the modes and park.
So park.
So we have park, eco, sport, and race mode.
I do like the UX right now. It's very clear, very easy to read. It looks like kind of like a smartphone.
USB-A and USB-C, so you can charge up your phones, or maybe if you want to hook up some external lights or something, you can wire it right to there instead of having to go into the harness. Yeah, so it's a very sleek design. A lot of the bikes that you see coming out now have like a big tank. And it's really annoying when you're trying to pedal because your legs are so much further apart than what you're used to. So being a nice sleek design close together and the pedals stick out further than the frame, it looks like it'd be pretty enjoyable and comfortable to pedal this bike.
They definitely put some thought into the design of it. I mean, even just if you really go in and look at the details, look at the contours, like that's some high level design. I can appreciate it when you kind of look at it closely.
Okay, so the pedals. Normally you use a pedal wrench, which you still can on this, but they made it easy for you and put an Allen key on the back side here. So you just use your normal Allen, and once you get it hand tight, then you can tighten it the rest of the way with the Allen on the back side, making it nice and easy and accessible.
Looks like the crank arms are kind of short. Don't know exactly how long those are, but they're pretty short.
We talk about the pop open battery compartment here.
So it comes with these side plates, and the right one is fixed. It doesn't move, but the left one actually swivels out and can pop in. And basically this is obviously to protect the battery, but also has some looks over here. So some designs. You could probably put your own logo if you wanted to.
Easy access to the battery compartment, whether you have one or two batteries, is the most important feature that offers. Yeah, I think this comes out.
This comes out. You can mount the second battery.
Yeah, I mean, there's two very convenient things up here that you could probably Velcro a bag to and have it open and put all your goodies in there. Okay, so getting the battery out. First things first, you gotta loosen the strap. So there's a little bit of Velcro on the bottom of this loop, so pull that up. Then once you have that up, then you can loosen the actual strap. And this has a little hook on the bottom of it, and that just hooks in to the bottom of the frame here. And then you just tighten it back down to get it back in. But so move this out the way. To undo the battery, there's a little pull tab here, pull the tab, and then it pulls it straight out. Okay, so start by turning the key counterclockwise, get it out the way, and then to get it out, you have to lift up and then pull out. Get everything out of your way. Make sure you got two hands on it, because it is really heavy. Slide it out, grab the handle, and you can hold it from the bottom and the handle to pull it out, and then the same deal to get it back in. Yep, so once you get it back in there, it should slide back in and lock in. The keys are gonna fall on you. And then you can go ahead and lock it back into place. And now it's not going anywhere. Put your plug in, lock it into place, put your safety strap back on, tighten her down, and you're good as new. So this translates to roughly 29 amp hour? Roughly 29 amp hours.
2930. Pretty beefy battery. This is capable of 6,000 watts with two batteries.
So we're on kind of an uneven surface, so my one leg is a little lower than the other, but I have enough room to stand up, and I'm not sitting. To sit down, I have to. I'm stealing it! Someone call the police. The anti-theft works.
The anti-theft works, so if you bring the app closer to the bike, I guess that turns off. That's cool.
It's a good height for me. Suspension feels pretty good. Really good up front.
It has some cushion. You know, it feels like a typical kind of like moped style saddle, I guess. And we also have kind of a cushion back here.
And then moving real quick onto the back brakes, I know we touched on the front being quad piston, but the rear is actually only a dual piston brake.
Integrated rear fender goes all the way down, so you don't get any splashback on you. It is a single speed gear, right? And not quite sure how many teeth are on the crank, but doesn't seem like a lot. It seems standard. It also has an integrated tensioner in case the chain gets too loose.
Yeah, so a lot of the bikes, when the frame, like when the suspension compresses, if it doesn't have any type of tensioner, the chain will go from loose to very, very tight.
Yeah, on the website, it doesn't really say anything about the motor. So one battery is 120 Newton meters of torque. 2 batteries is 175 Newton meters. So I think you really want 2 batteries if you want to increase the power, the torque, and the range of this bike, which will make it a lot heavier. But you know, if that's what you want to really max out the potential, then that's an option. If you're just sort of a beginner rider, or if this is for your kid, then keeping it just with 1 battery probably makes the most sense.
First glance, the Segway Xyber looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. The cast aluminum frame gives it a solid, almost tank-like presence, and with a 396.8-pound weight limit, it's built to accommodate a wide range of riders. But at 138 pounds, it's not the easiest e-bike to throw in a trunk or carry up a flight of stairs. The integrated lighting system is another standout feature. The 1300 lumen front headlight has both high and low beams, while the rear taillight with brake functionality ensures visibility from behind. The design as a whole is bold, futuristic, and attention-grabbing. Whether you want to or not, you'll turn heads riding this thing. The Xyber outputs 3,000 watts from a single battery and a max output of 6,000 watts with dual batteries. That's impressive for a 48-volt system, but experienced riders who are used to 60-volt or 72-volt setups might find themselves craving more torque and top speed. The Xyber has 3 throttle modes: Eco, Sport, and Race, which can be easily switched depending on environment and riding style. Add in 12 levels of assist, and there's a good amount of flexibility to fine-tune your ride. Battery life is another highlight. On a single 48-volt, 30-amp-hour battery, you get up to 56 miles of range depending on rider weight, terrain, and power level. And with the dual battery setup, range jumps up to 112 miles. Charging is relatively quick with the included 10-amp fast charger, which is ideal for daily commuting.
Okay, first ride with the Segway Xyber. It is super cold here in Michigan. It's really icy, but that's what we're dealing with here, so we're just gonna do it. Right now, the Segway is in airlock mode, and if we bring my phone right next to the dash over here, and we hold down the power button, it'll unlock it. Keyless entry, very nice. One thing I forgot to mention in the walkthrough is that this bike is 138 pounds. So it is very, very heavy. So just keep that in mind. So I believe there's 12 levels of power assist and then 3 power modes. So we'll start, I guess, in the center, eco mode. Always got to be careful. We'll take it slow because there is a lot of ice. Okay, so like the suspension feels really good for my weight. Not quite flat footing the bike, but I think if you're over like 5'7", should be no problem. We'll give it no throttle, just pedal only. And yeah, that feels good. It's interesting. It definitely feels like a torque sensor. You definitely feel the weight of the bike, right? No throttle here, just pedal assist. I think you want to increase the pedal assist for the weight of the bike here. So I'm going to put it all the way up now at its highest level. And now I'm getting a little bit more power, just pedal only. So it definitely performs like a torque sensor. So each time you pedal, you feel a little bit of the battery pushing some volts into the motor to simulate, you know, like actual pedaling on a traditional e-bike, but this is obviously way more robust. All right, let's bump it up to the second power level, which is sport mode. Okay, now we're on sport mode. We'll put it on pedal assist level 6. Yeah, that feels pretty good. You know, it's a very smooth power delivery. It's not going to like kind of throw you on your back for sure. Not a ton of torque. It's only 48 volts. You give it a little throttle and a little pedaling there. And we'll bump up the pedal assist now. Still on sport mode. Yeah, we're throttling and pedaling. And I got it up to about 16 miles per hour. Now, one thing to note is that the bike is very, very heavy. So, you know, like maneuvering, you feel the weight of the bike every time you turn. And you feel that weight, right? You feel the battery weight up front. You can maneuver, but it's kind of like a slow, lean, almost like a counter steering type of feel to it. The big fat tires, those 5-inch, 20 by 5-inch fat tires, you feel it gripping the road, but it's really, you know, you gotta get used to it. I mean, if you are used to like riding motorcycles, this should be no issue for you. But if you're just coming from regular e-bikes, it's a totally different feeling. Race mode, full pedal assist level, but it's still a very smooth throttle ramp up from the beginning, even though I am in race mode. So I think race mode probably just unlocks more like the top speed, but you definitely feel the torque here. Like I mentioned, with the dual battery setup, I think you get more power. You get 6,000 watts into the motor, so I think this is just doing 3,000 watts, which, you know, is not bad, but it's, you know, it's 48 volts. It's 48 volts, 3,000 watts peak, I'm assuming. So if you've ever ridden a 48 volt bike, that's what it feels like. It's just in a really bigger frame, in a bigger, more robust package, which is the Segway Xyber. Gather up a little bit of speed, and then I'm going to squeeze the brakes. So not a ton of low-end torque, like right off the line. So I'm like pinning the throttle, and it's just smoothly getting me up to speed. But once you get up to 15, 20 miles per hour, that's where I think, you know, the higher RPMs in the motor really engage. The pedaling does, you know, you feel like you're kind of ghost pedaling, not a lot of resistance since it's like a single gear. So that's something to keep in mind. And just kind of like the maneuvering, and I'm like really kind of leaning into these turns here. Also trying to be careful so I don't hit any black ice, but, you know, kind of leaning into the turns and maneuvering my entire body. Very similar to, I guess, how I would steer my my modded Super 73. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Maybe it's just a little bit bigger, but not by much. So I'm short, about 5'5", about 135 pounds. So this bike feels a little small for me, so just keep that in mind. But you can, you know, push the handlebars out further if you wanted to, if you're a taller rider. But just know that it's like, you know, you're riding basically like a mini bike, sort of. But yeah, I mean, not bad. I'm feeling this. Let's see if I can climb this hill over here, even though this is not really meant for off-road. The tires are just not meant for off-road, but I could try. We'll see. Here we go. Woo! And up the hill. Okay. So back on the snowy ice and grass. And yeah, I'm feeling the suspension. Again, not really meant for this kind of terrain, but it can do it if you need it to. What a season to be reviewing this bike, gotta tell you. Thank you guys for sending it in the middle of January. All right, let's go down this hill. Gotta be careful here. And off the curb, no problem. Very pleasant cruise. It's less about the power and just more about kind of the comfort, the intelligent controls, and I guess just the overall handling and center of gravity. It's a lot different than any other bike I've ridden before. So if this is sort of the next step into really innovating e-bikes, then I'm excited to see what Segway does next. Like I said, 48 volts, not a whole lot, but you know, there's a reason Segway did that, and I am curious to know what dual 48 volts batteries would do to the power. And who's not to say that they might release a 60 volt battery and just launch some firmware update, you know, over Wi-Fi, right, or over the internet, and just totally upgrade the controller to accept a 60 volt battery. Who knows, right? We'll see what happens, but there's a reason that this thing is built so sturdily with 48 volts. It's a really interesting bike. It definitely feels like it's capable of so much more. It feels like a motorcycle, but it rides like a 48 volt fat tire e-bike, if that makes any sense. Everything about the components feels very robust. 5-inch tires, you know, it takes a little bit more power to steer, you know, than a thinner wheel. And it's just a little bit heavier, right? So you just got to get used to the weight. But the power delivery was fine. It was very smooth. You know, it's not super torquey that a beginner will get thrown off or anything like that. We'll do a top speed test and do more riding, but just for this initial ride, it feels good. It feels comfortable. It is a lot less powerful than I thought it would be, but that's okay. I think this has a lot of potential, especially with the dual batteries, or if you wanted to potentially mod it, that would be something to think about. The brakes on the rear, I kind of wish it was 4-piston. It just feels like it wasn't really stopping me as much, you know, especially with the smaller rotor. And I think I need more fluid or something, because you could see I'm squeezing the brakes all the way down and it's like it's touching my knuckles, which you don't want. You want it like this. You know, that means it has enough fluid and there's no air bubbles or anything like that. You know, I tend to use my rear brake a little bit more than the front brake. I just feel like I have more control. I think I need more time on it to really assess my overall feelings, but it's definitely unique and unlike anything I've ever ridden before, that's for sure.
The Xyber is equipped with a dual crown front suspension fork and a 5-stage rear shock. This setup can handle most terrain, but keeping it on the streets is where it performs best. The 20x5-inch all-terrain fat tires add to the stability, making it easier to handle light off-roading. Just keep in mind that steering feels more like a motorcycle than a traditional e-bike. Braking is solid with a 4-piston front brake and 220mm rotor, and a 2-piston rear brake with a 180mm rotor. This setup should provide plenty of confidence when riding at higher speeds or tackling steep descents, but it would have been ideal to have 4-piston brakes on both the front and rear. One of the biggest selling points of the Xyber is its tight integration of smart technology. The Segway app allows you to control the bike's settings, and the AirLock feature provides Bluetooth-enabled electrical and mechanical locking systems for added security. There's also the Apple Find My integration, so you can track the bike via GPS if it ever goes missing. Other security features include an integrated motion alarm, which should help deter theft. The center-mounted smart display is another nice touch, offering real-time stats like speed, battery level, and power settings. You can even track ride data, navigate routes, and control music, making it feel like a true tech-first experience rather than just a generic e-bike display.
One of the things that's pretty cool is the AirLock. So the bike is currently locked, and to unlock it, you got to bring the phone pretty much close to the bike like so, and then you hit the power button and it unlocks it. So that's the AirLock, and then if you shut it down,
AirLock re-engages, and you can't move it. When you go to move it, the motor fights you.
And then to unlock it, just bring the phone close by.
Press the power button, comes back on.
So in the app, you could do kind of the honk and flash lights only if the bike is off. So if you want to scare people off.
Yeah, someone's looking at your bike while you're eating a slice of Joe's pizza. Hit them with the horn, baby.
It's funny how it has a horn sound, but the actual electronic horn sound doesn't sound like that.
Right, yeah. It's like it comes out of a different speaker.
So other features in the app, you have the electric assist settings. You could change the power assisting sensitivity. We have it on high. You have something called hill climb compensation. So it helps save effort when the vehicle is climbing hills. Keep all that on. More functions. Got the security and anti-theft. We showed you the power off locking. We have the light effect, so you could do lights off all the time, auto sensing, or always on. We'll put it on auto sensing. Sound effects, you can actually make the sound louder if you want. So put that at 100%. Got the unlock and passcode. You have the dashboard settings where you connect it to your Bluetooth. Some other things like quick features. You can put that over here. Customize like your dashboard, I guess. Imperial metric, we'll keep it on Imperial since we're in the US. Auto lock disabled. It's the walk-away auto lock. So if you just forget to turn the bike off, it'll auto lock it. Electric assist settings. We went to that already. And then you can reset, and then you also have battery settings over here. So the battery is actually connected via Bluetooth. So it's reading the BMS, and you see the percentage, the voltage, and the temperature.
All the smart features. Yeah, so going through the screens here, we have our main screen, and moving to the right on the switch thing here, You have a display that shows your speeds. Looks like calories. It's checking how many calories you're burning while you're cruising. The cadence, the cadence, the trip, and the daily trip. And then moving over to the next screen, you have your navigation screen, which I'm...
When you hook it up to the app, you'll get navigation, and it'll show up over here.
And then you have the playlist, where it's a series of clicks, where one click will play it, and then, 2 clicks will skip the song, and then 3 clicks should go back a song.
Yeah. And it's not going to actually play through the Bluetooth speaker in the bike. It's going to play through your phone.
Or whatever if you have Bluetooth headphones, your Apple AirPods, or whatever it is. You could also, I guess, put a like JBL speaker right here, and it would play through that. So you could very easily adapt it to play something attached to the bike. And then it also still tells you your mile per hour and what mode you're in, whether you're in park or eco, sport, or race mode.
So the reason they do this is basically so you don't have to have your phone mounted. You could have your phone in your jacket and everything will be controlled and everything you could see would be on this display.
And then moving on to the final one, there is your settings. So the warnings, walk mode on and off, screen brightness, volume, and quiet mode.
Like a minimized version of the features that you could see in the app, but you can access it just through the display. It's a lot of features, man. A lot of features.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and I still feel like we're missing something.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like there's way more that if we really dive deep. But I mean, just overall, it's not too complicated.
Yeah, at first glance, everything was fairly simple to figure out. I mean, we had to look up like 1 or 2 things, but we could have figured it out if we just messed with it a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think if you're like if you're a techie, you know what I mean? You like technology, you like smartphones, you like all that stuff. Like this is really the bike for you, I think.
As far as like pedal e-bikes go, I don't think you're gonna find a more advanced one out on the market yet.
There's 2 other intelligent features that I forgot to share, which I think is important. So we'll go to more functions, and we want to go all the way down to the 9-bot lab, Segway 9-bot lab. And here's where you can change the speed modes. So off-road is set to 35 miles per hour, or you can set it to 20 if you want to limit it for kids or beginners. And then the other mode is locating vehicle, which is the Apple Find My feature. So if you have an iPhone, this is really good to track your bike. So it connects like any other Apple device, kind of like an AirTag or an internal AirTag in the bike. And you can find it through the map. You could also send a sound if it's lost, and this is what it sounds like. Play sound. So it beeps to locate your bike. So that's a really great feature, having an integrated tracker in case you lose your bike. Let's see if we could get a top speed run here. All the way down, 28 miles per hour, 31, 33 on the display. About 33-ish. You know, the single gear means that you're gonna ghost pedal at like sort of higher power levels. It's gonna rely on the power of the motor and the battery. I don't think pedaling really can push this bike at 138 pounds. And then the top speed, right? They say 35 miles per hour, so that might be again with 2 batteries. Now, when we did that quick downhill run, top speed, we did hit, I guess, maybe 33 miles per hour on the display. We'll try to get another like flat area where we could test the top speed, but right now I'm just kind of cruising through the city, right? This is what this thing is really meant for, maybe like a commuter through the city. Fat tires are doing its thing. Not a ton of, uneven terrain here. So the suspension is actually working like how you would expect it to work, right? Going over these train tracks, going up this incline, and really no issues. The people who drive around here, sometimes they come from out of town, they have no idea what to do with bike lanes. So we see cars like turning into the bike lanes, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. I expect the worst from all the drivers out here, and that's more of a stressful ride, but it does keep you safer if you expect drivers to do the wrong thing each time. But overall, I mean, this is a pretty chill ride. I'm not, it's not like I need more than 48 volts going through all these intersections, right? I don't really need that much power off the line. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention in the walkthrough is that when you plug in the charger, first of all, a 10 amp charger is awesome. It means you're going to charge your batteries pretty quick. When you plug in the charger, you actually see how much time on the display, you see how much time you have left. Ooh. And 29 right there, 29 miles per hour. The size is, it feels like between a Z1 and a Super 73 S2. The Z1 was a little too small for people. S2 was maybe just a little too tall for others. And this is like right in the middle. I like the positioning of the bars, the riser bars. I do feel maybe just a little bit hunched over, but I think my positioning and basically where my hands are, it's not bad. All the controls are interesting. I think changing the modes with the dial is just a little bit tricky. Increasing it, you basically turn the dial this way. If you turn the dial up, you should go to race mode, right? But it's kind of the opposite. You kind of like turn the dial down to go up. Not a big deal, just something that I thought about. Don't expect this bike to perform like a Sur-Ron or like a Stealth Bomber. It's going to perform like a 48 volt bike with just a lot of intelligent features. To be honest, I think that makes it accessible to more people to not have like a super powerful bike. I'm gonna go on the street here. Less intimidating, so just keep that in mind. If you're like, why did Segway make this only 48 volts? I know, I get it. I've been doing this long enough where I understand the R&D and I understand the metrics that go into choosing a battery, choosing different parts. And I think it's to appeal to the broadest audience possible, which makes a lot of sense. All right, we're going up an incline here. I am full throttle. I am full pedal and very steep slope here. And getting down to 20 miles per hour as I reach the top. I think this flattens out a little bit. All right, here we go. 24 on the display, 26, 29, 30, 32, 33. Roughly 33 miles per hour, top speed, single battery. And we are down to 74% on the battery. And that's not bad, to be honest, considering how cold it is. You know, I don't notice any voltage drop or anything like that.
So here's what we like. The Xyber is packed with smart features that work together seamlessly, setting it apart from traditional e-bikes. If you want a bike that turns heads, this is it. The futuristic, moto-inspired aesthetic is a statement, and the option for a second battery to increase current and range is ideal for those who want to maximize its potential. But here's some things to consider. Riders looking for extreme torque and speed may find the 48-volt system a bit limiting. At 138 pounds, this is not a lightweight commuter, so transporting and storing it could be a challenge. And depending on your local laws, this bike might be classified outside of standard e-bike regulations. Overall, the Segway Xyber is a tech lover's dream, a futuristic, fully integrated e-bike that offers smooth power, great range, and advanced security features. It's not the fastest or most powerful in the high-performance e-bike category, but for riders who want a unique, connected, and highly functional machine, it's an exciting option. So what do you think? Does the Segway Xyber fit your style, or do you want more? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.